record to this. All right, because we are going to be, we are recording this right now, as of right now, and we're going to be posting it on YouTube as well. We're not live streaming on YouTube today, unfortunately, just because we have our assistants over in Taiwan. It's basically midnight for them, so they thought it was a little bit too late. So we're just doing this. We're just doing this on Zoom right now, and we will be posting it later on YouTube. We'll be sending you guys a link. And if you have any feedback for today's webinar or any webinars, any suggestions you want for future webinars, please fill out the feedback form. We're going to send to you via email after today's webinar, and you get a 10% discount from the content store for that. That's about all I wanted to talk about for the webinar stuff, webinar related stuff. We will use the chat window sometimes, but your questions will be put in the Q&A panel there in your Zoom panel, Q&A window in your Zoom panel. And we'll answer those after Tristram's demo today. A couple of things. Hopefully everyone can see my screen here. In the content store, as you know, we have a content store, all kinds of content, whether it be, character content, props, animations, and all that stuff. I always recommend checking out the stuff down here, the weekly special, freebie, and stuff like that. So right now we have a freebie motion, which is the panic run. You can see it kind of being previewed right here. So you can just go to the content store and download this for free. I don't know where the dude went, but he's somewhere in there. It's a panic run, trust me. There's supposed to be a dude running there. I think I maybe, oh, there you go.
There we go.
My mouse is going wacky here, but anyways, it's a panic run. It's free, so go to the content store, check it out, and you can get that for free as well. In addition, there's always the weekly special. This week's weekly special is some hair and accessory stuff. So this is if you want to decorate your character with various hairstyles and props and stuff like that, accessories. So check that out as well. That's in the content store. As well, for those of you who don't know, we have product training. So if you go to the main site, revolutionized.com, and you go to learn over here, we have, let me just get the Zoom thing out of the way, free online tutorials. And we have a whole collection of tutorials that are related to today's webinar. If you go over to iClone here, there's a section called MoCap animation training. And I think a couple of these are done by me, and most of them are done by Tristram. So these are kind of like really, really useful and technical tutorials that talk about various types of motion capture cleanup, various different scenarios. Excellent. Highly recommend checking this out. I'm going to put the link in the chat window for you guys here so you can check this out. Just make sure I message to everyone here. There we go. So definitely, if you're interested in today's webinar, this is going to be a gold mine of information for you. And thank you to Tristram for helping us out with all these tutorials. Excellent job, really, really clear and really well done. So yeah, no worries. Everyone check this out. I highly recommend for sure, especially if you're interested in today's webinar. Okay, and we do have ActorCore as well. So I want to mention this before we move on. ActorCore.realism.com. This is where you can basically just download a whole ton of motions. There's a huge motion library that's been uploaded here. If you go to motion over here, you can see there's thousands and thousands of motions over here, categorized. You can buy them individually. You can buy them in packs. There's some free stuff as well. So make sure you check out, if you go up here to free, make sure you check out ActorCore when you get a chance, because there's a whole bunch of free stuff as well. And I'll throw this link in the chat window for you guys there. All right, and I think that's about all I have. I just want to again introduce Tristram coming to us from UK. Thanks so much for being with us again, and thanks for all the work you've done on the tutorials. And yeah, I think I'll just hand it over to you if you want to share your screen. I think you should be able to go ahead and get with it.
Pleasure to be joining you, Kai, and everyone in here. Pleasure to be here, and going to teach you this really exciting MoCap session today. So this will stop other shit. So I'm just going to share my screen very quickly. Okay, how's that? Are we seeing?
All good to go. Yeah, awesome.
Perfect. Okay, so we're here in my iClone 8, and you can see I've got this scene set up in front of us. But what we're going to be basically looking at today is how to clean up MoCap data. So a lot of you may be familiar with kind of some of the amazing softwares out there today, such as kind of Plask and Rococo. This was specifically done in Plask, but what we can effectively do is we can actually capture a video in real life, on your mobile phone, on a camera, and then you can put it in a software like Plask, and you can actually convert that motion into motion for a 3D avatar, so an FBX file that we can then use in iClone. So effectively, what we've done here is we've created some motion from a video that we're now going to look at and clean up. One of the main kind of issues with, of course, taking that route in creating motion is that there is a lot of kind of cleanup that's needed afterwards. So it's never just as plain sailing as kind of putting a video in, creating some wonderful motion and getting it straight kind of out of the box working. You have to do a little bit of cleanup. There's a few little steps we can do. And that's where iClone 8 comes in, because it's a fantastic tool that you can actually use to actually clean up MoCap and get some incredible results. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to do that today with this scene in front of us. So what I'm firstly going to do is I'm firstly just going to play out this scene so you guys can watch it back. So if I just hit play, you're going to notice that it's just a character sitting down in a chair, but you can see straight away, he's sliding all over the place. The feet are sliding everywhere. So it kind of, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be looked at. Now, again, remember, this was created directly from a video footage. So if I just play it again, you can see this is all video footage transcended into motion. But, a lot of issues going on. So let's look at the first issue that we can see that's very noticeable. And it's this slide when the character actually sits down. You can see him sliding across the floor. So what we need to do to fix that is, it's a very simple actual technique that we can use here in iClone to fix that. What we want to effectively do is we want to go to the point in time where the character's foot kind of connects with the floor just before he's about to sit down, which is about here at frame 70 almost. So you can see after this, there's sliding going on, etc. So what we want to do is we're getting it to the exact point where the foot connects with the floor just before the character seat. So about here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to simply make a break in the motion clip. So we'll just click on it. Then we're going to go up to this little break panel here. You can also right click and select break, but we'll just use this little icon here to break that. So what we've done is we've broken that motion at this point where the right foot connects with the floor. So now,
hey, Tristan, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to mention here, a couple of people asked if they could see the video source, which I think might be interesting as well. Yeah, just for this, just kind of compare.
Do we have the original video source for this? I'm not sure if I've got it my end.
I don't have it on my end. You might have gotten it from Isaac.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I actually have it, but what we can do is we can maybe insert it in the webinar that we're going to upload to YouTube after. I'm not sure if I have the actual footage of where they're seated.
Sure. Okay. No worries. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I guess Tristan was working with one of our engineers, Isaac, on this, and he has the source video. Unfortunately, I don't have it either.
Unfortunately.
So, all right. Sorry to interrupt.
We'll try, no worries. We'll try and get it uploaded in the webinar session that we're going to upload to YouTube, so you guys can watch that back after. But so, yeah, it was made from an original video footage. And what we're going to do is just to kind of get back on track. So we've broke the motion clip in half at the exact point here, just before he sits down. And what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the motion here, and we're just going to align it to the whole. We're going to align whole clip to the right foot. So what we're effectively doing, as you can see, the character nudged over a little bit. If I just undo that, you can see the little nudge where he kind of moves over. So I'm just going to redo it. And all we've done is we've aligned the whole clip to the right foot. Now, if we go to the beginning and play this back, you're going to see straight away that it eliminates that sliding. So you can see our character on the left is sliding, but our character on the right actually stops sliding. So very quick way just to eliminate that sliding. And again, all we've done is we've told this part of the motion that we've broken half, we've told it to follow a line with the foot where it is in this prior motion here. So now that tells that motion to follow the direction of this foot, which stays in this position. And, that easy, we kind of get rid of that sliding. Again, what we're going to do is if we play it, you're going to see when the character now gets up, there's still a bit of sliding going on here that we need to correct. So what we'll do is just at the point before the character stands up, so just about here, we're going to make another break in that clip. So we'll just break that, and then we'll go a few frames ahead, just to the point where the character actually stands up. So just before the foot turns about here, we're going to make another break. And the reason we're doing that is because, again, we're going to align these whole clips to the different feet. So what we'll do with the first one is we just want to right click on that, and we want to align the whole clip to the right foot. And then with the second part, we're going to click on it and we're going to be aligning the whole clip to the left foot. And you can see again, the character nudged over a little bit, so you can tell that something's happened. So if we now play that back from this point here, you'll see when he gets up, there's a lot less foot sliding going on. Now there's still a little bit present, but it's kind of cleaned up a lot of that. So, with them two simple techniques, just breaking the clips at the right point and aligning them to the correct feet position, you're going to get rid of a lot of those sliding issues and a lot of the feet sliding issues. Now, again, like I say, there is still some issues with the foot sliding going on. So that takes me on to the next step of this webinar, where we're going to actually use the motion correction to fix that foot sliding entirely. So really, really simple to do. What we want to first do is we want to actually bake and flatten this whole clip and make it one. So to do that, we're just going to come up here into the animation tab, and we're going to say flatten all motion with constraint. And that's now going to flatten all of those clips, and it's going to kind of make that one motion, as you can see here. And now to bring up the motion correction, it's just a simple case of right clicking on the motion. And then we're going to go up here into the motion correction tab. So once we click on that, that will bring up here our motion correction, as you can see here. And I'm just going to zoom out just a little bit so we can see the whole kind of character. But yeah, so we've got our motion correction up now. Now you can see I've got my threshold set at 2, my transition frames at 10, and then the reach duration and release duration at 8 and -8. So we're going to leave these settings where they are, and we're just going to hit correct. And in a second, you should see a bunch of footprints come up on our floor. So that's how you'll know that your motion correction is being engaged. And these footprints represent the different places the character will place his foot and ultimately be constrained. Now, if we go back to the beginning of the clip very quickly, we're just going to play it out as is and just see what that's actually doing for the character. So you can see it locks the feet in place quite a lot, but you can see it's quite jaggedy, and it kind of moves quite fast and kind of sticks in place. So it's not really engaging them as fluid as we'd like, let's say. I'm just going a little bit closer. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at how to ultimately kind of blend these in and make them work a lot more fluid. So to do that, we're going to come down to our timeline here. We're just going to scroll down, and you can see here we've got the reach for the left foot, and we've got the left toe, and we've also got the reach for the right foot and the right toe as well. So these lines here, these represent the different points where the feet are being constrained to the floor. So now if we go to the very beginning, and ultimately if we just come down to the foot a little bit more, and if I move the timeline just a little bit, you can see there's a little bit of slide going on already. So that's already unwanted. Now to get rid of that, we're just going to make sure that the right foot here is being engaged from the very beginning of the timeline. So to do that, we're going to hold down Control and make sure both of our clips are selected here. And we're just going to drag those to the beginning. And now you'll see straight away that that kind of gets rid of that little slide there. And so there's still a little bit more sliding going on. So just going to, yeah. So now if we play that back, you'll see that kind of deals with that little slide. So there's still a little bit of slide going on, but the engaging starts from this point here. So what we're going to do is ultimately, we just want to get that a little bit smoother. So you can see it's not too smooth. There's kind of a lot of movement. So we're going to just clean that up very quickly. Now, I'm just going to, because there's this little slide here at the beginning and it's not kind of engaged, we're just going to redo it. So we're just going to hit correct again, just to recalibrate that and just make sure that's all calibrated correctly. Okay, so it seemed that I was working on the wrong foot. I was working on the right foot, so my bad. So we'll go again to the beginning here. So you can see that little slide we want to get rid of. So we're just going to click these two sliders here, hold down Control to select them both. I'm going to drag that to the beginning. Now you'll see straight away there's no more little foot slides on this left foot here. So again, we're going to come here and we're going to just clean it up here. So you can see a lot going on here. There's a couple of sliders here that we don't actually need. And the reason being is you can see at the point here, it kind of constrains. And then again, it tries to constrain here. So ultimately we can delete this section and we can just use this constraint to get a much more fluid result. So we're just going to bring this up a little bit. And if we play this, you'll see now it just goes to that point straight away. Now, of course, there's a little bit more cleanup that we're going to need to do. And again, this is just a case of just kind of, using these sliders to kind of nudge them over a little bit and see what works the best and gets the best results. Now, we can use these additional sliders here. These are going to blend it a little bit more. So we're just going to add a little bit of blend to those. And we'll go back to this point here and we're going to hit play. And you can see already it's getting a lot more smoother. The kind of more we've added that blend and just kind of tweak these values here, it gets a lot more smoother, as you can see. So again, it really is just about kind of playing around with this and getting this at the right point in time where you kind of get the most fluidity out of the movement. So we're just going to move it back a little bit and we're just going to increase the blend a little bit more. And hopefully here we're going to see a lot better results and a much smoother transition. Okay, nice. So you can see it's working a lot more smoothly and it's keeping those feet nicely in place. Now, again, here, we're just going to come and touch up this little part here. As you can see, a little bit of wobble going on. So again, we just want to kind of make sure these are aligned up properly. And once they are, we're just going to hold down control to select the two sliders. We'll bring up the blend slider a little bit. And then we're just going to kind of bring this back just a touch and we'll play that back and just see how that looks. Now, again, we just want to engage this one here because we just want to keep the constraint on a little bit longer just before the foot moves to the next constraint point, just to kind of get rid of that little pop-in that we're seeing here. So we'll just go a little bit more forward and we'll hit play. Okay, so now you can see it's much more fluid and it kind of releases a little bit later to the next point. So again, you can play around with this and you can tweak it left or right and kind of, move it a little bit more to the left to kind of see what results you're trying to get. But ultimately, it really is just a case of fine tuning the sliders until you're happy with the results. Now, again, we're going to do the same for the right foot over here. So we're just going to come down to the right foot here. And again, we're going to start that engagement from the very beginning. So we'll just hold down control. And we're just going to click on these two sliders and drag them over to the left. And that's just going to ensure the constraint is engaging it from the very beginning. So at this point, you can see it looks pretty cool how it is. Sometimes you'll be quite lucky and it will already kind of do an amazing job without you having to tweak things. But, if you wanted to add a little bit more tweak, again, you can just add a little bit more blend. So we're just going to click on these two here and we're just going to add a little bit more blend to make sure the constraint leaves a little bit later. And ultimately you get a nice smooth result, as you can see there. So again, it really is just about tweaking this and kind of, playing with these sliders until you get the result that you're happy with. But as you can see, we're really cleaning these feet up and getting a lot more kind of fluidity between the foot constraints. Now, when he stands up, you can see there's a little issue going on here, a little bit of wobble. So again, we're just going to delete these ones here because these are additional keys that we don't need. And we'll just engage these ones a little bit sooner. So we'll bring them up. And if we play that back, okay, so you can see, it's getting there, but there's a little bit of a problem still that we need to fix. So again, it's just really about adjusting these sliders, guys. It's really not too complicated. It really is just about fine tuning the sliders until you get the kind of adequate results that you like. So there you go. You can see that's cleaned it up a little bit more. And again, we'll just add in these constraints and we'll bring them in a little bit later, but we'll add a little bit more blend to them just to kind of blend them in a little sooner. So if we play that back, you can now see we've got that nice result. So I'm just going to play this from the beginning just so we can see kind of what we've done. And I'm just going to keep a nice angle on the feet so we can focus on them. I'm going to hit play. But you can just see, how much we've actually cleaned up that foot sliding, in a few minutes, just using these little sliders down here. Now, again, you can always refine these and, you can always come down and further make adjustments where needed. So, if we look at this foot here, you can see a little bit of sliding going on. So we just want to keep it engaged a little bit longer. So we'll bring the left foot sliders up a bit more, and that's just going to keep the engagement a little bit longer before it releases off the floor. Okay, and then here we're going to just bring the engagement a little bit to the right because we just want to start the constraint a little bit later. Okay, nice. And then you can see, what we've done is we've additionally cleaned up the foot sliding. So I'll just play it from the very beginning and we can see that. And, again, you can spend as much time as you want here refining those and getting those looking perfect. But this looks pretty cool to me, and I'm pretty happy with how that looks. So that is kind of us cleaning up those feet. And again, you know, this is motion that we've taken from a video, you know, and we've put it in a software, and we've been able to generate this wonderful, wonderful motion that would take, you know, hours to create manually. So really, really amazing tool. So I'm just going to close this, guys, and this is going to bring us on to the next step of the webinar, because if we actually go to the beginning and we play this back, you're going to see at this point here, the character's hands are actually going through the mesh. So I'm going to show you how we can use a wonderful tool called reach targets to actually fix this very easily. So what we want to do effectively is we want to go to the point where the hands go through the mesh, so about here. And what we're going to start to do here is we're going to start to engage the reach target. Now to do that, we're just going to come up here to our modify tab. And if we come down here to edit reach target, that will bring up this little reach target box here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to select our hand, and you'll know it's selected because you'll see the yellow kind of highlight come up. And we're just going to go select target and keep the current pose. And what that's going to do is it's going to basically constrain the hand where it is in place. And that will now be constrained to that knee. Now, of course, you know, it's not in the right position. So ultimately, we now have the flexibility, as you can see, to tweak and move that. You can see the gizmo comes up once we constrain it. So if we press E on our keyboard, or you can go up to your rotate gizmo here, we can now start to rotate this and get this in the right place. So I'm just going to turn off the bones a second, because, you know, they do kind of get in the way and obscure your view. So I'm just going to turn those down a little bit. And now you can see clearly what we're doing. So all we're doing here is we're just literally adjusting the hand, and we're kind of getting it in the right position. And we're going to do this, you know, along the timeline at different intervals, just to make sure it's corrected. But instead of kind of using the edit motion layer, we're using the reach targets to do that. So, you know, very, very simple to do. And, you know, don't be afraid to kind of spend a bit of time here and get the hands posed exactly how you want them. But you can see, you know, that's nicely posed here. So again, we'll go a few steps ahead, and you can see that now nicely engages. But at this point, you can see the arm starts to lock. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to where our reach is actually being engaged here on the right hand. You can see the little key, the key point here, the little dot here, that kind of indicates where the data is being stored and the points of engagement. So if we go a few steps ahead, you can see the hand's really nice here, but at this point here, there's some popping issue here that we need to fix. So what we do is we just go to the point just where it pops. And again, all we're going to do is we're going to basically use our movement gizmo to now readjust the position of this hand. So we're just going to drag it down a little bit, and we'll lift it up, and we'll move it over. And you can see as I've done that, it's created another little point here in the timeline. So you can see we've got the flexibility to actually keyframe these reach targets at different points. So ultimately, what we're just going to do is just reposition it to how we like, and we'll just come out a little bit and see how that looks. Great for now. And then if we just play that back from here, you can see that now gets rid of that popping issue. Now, again, you can spend some time here and really fine tune this and really get this looking nice, and you know, get this kind of up to a standard that you're really happy with. And, you know, just adjusting the hands to make sure the joints aren't kind of looking too strained, and just getting this perfect. You can spend a lot of time here. So now if I go back to the beginning here, and we'll just play that back just to see kind of where we're at with it. And you're going to notice there may be a little pop here, but it kind of, let me get a better angle on this. So we'll just play this back here. Nice. And you can see that works perfectly. So that hand no longer, as you can see here on our model on the left, it no longer is breaking through that mesh, and it's perfectly constraining. And that is very simple to do. All we've used is the reach to do that. So at this point, we're going to now find the correct point where we want to actually tell the constraints to stop constraining the hand. So just at the point here, as he's about to kind of get up, we're just going to tell it here, release. And that now you can see has actually set a release key. And if we play this back, we'll see that when he stands up, that's going to release. So you always got to remember to release the hand. Of course, you know, you don't want to keep that constrained the whole time. So you're going to have to know the right points where you want to release it. But that's the right hand done. So again, we're going to do the exact same thing for the left hand. So we'll just come to the point in time where the hand is going through the mesh, as you can see here. And we're just going to select our left hand, and we're going to say select target and keep current pose. And we're just going to select the fire here. And now we can actually start to fine tune this and kind of reposition the hand as we please, and just get that in the perfect position. So, really is simple to do, and it doesn't actually take too much time. You can spend kind of, a few minutes here just kind of fixing the positioning and stuff, and you're going to get a lot more greater results. So I'm just going to go to the beginning here. Okay, and then again, at this same point here where we can see the popping, we're just going to come and move the hand back a little bit just to kind of alleviate that popping and get that hand looking really nice and in proportion. So, really it's just about tweaking, guys, and, spending a little bit of time making the little adjustments that you need to. But these reach targets are a game changer, and they're really going to help you achieve some amazing results, especially when it comes to kind of reach targets with two characters interacting or intertwining. You can use these to do some fantastic things. So I'm just going to play this now from this point here, and we're just going to see exactly how those hands are constraining. So you can see that is constraining perfectly. At the point where he's just about to get up, we're just going to hit release and ensure that releases that. And perfect. So if I just go to the very beginning, and we'll just come out a little bit and we'll just hit play just to watch that all back to see what's going on. But you can see the hands nicely connect with the fires, and the motion looks incredible. And remember, guys, we've captured this from a phone. So, it gives you so much possibilities to go out there and start, filming your own motions, creating your own videos that you can come and drop in a software like Plask and get these results that you can come into iClone and start to clean up, in about 10 minutes. So really fantastic tool, guys. And that really does kind of conclude this section of the webinar. So I'll just ultimately play this one more time for you. But what we're going to look at next is how to kind of reposture a character when we bring a character in, when we bring motion in from Plask, etc. So I'm just going to close this project file here. So I'll just close this. And I really hope you guys learned some really useful stuff in that, because, it's really incredible and incredibly quick how you can start to clean up motion. And I'm just going to open up this project now, and we're going to be looking at posturing. And we're going to specifically look at kind of how to use the edit motion layer to reposture a character. Now, you can see here, again, I've got two characters, and you can see one of their postures has been corrected already, and one of them hasn't. Now, you may be thinking, why is the posture like this? And I'll just kind of break that down to you. When you use softwares like Plask or Rococo, and you may be doing something as basic as, just a small speech, no matter what happens, when you bring that motion in from Plask into a software like iClone, the motion is going to come out like this. It's not going to be kind of postured correct. It's going to have all sorts of kind of things going on that you're going to need to look at and fix. And that's where iClone comes in, because it's a fantastic tool. And I'm going to show you how we're going to fix this posture in a few minutes. So what we want to do is we're just going to come around to this side of our character. And firstly, I'll play this back so you can actually see what's going on. So I'll just hit play. But it is just, again, some basic torque motion that's been captured on video and put into Plask. And this is the motion that we've got out. So again, on the left-hand side, this is the original motion. So this is how it came straight into iClone. So I'm just going to turn our guy off here so we can not get distracted. And we're going to look at how we can now reposture this character, in a few simple steps. So to do it, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our modify tab, and in our edit motion layer here, we're going to select this. And again, all we're doing is similar to the reach targets. We're just repositioning the body. So with the hips selected here, the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to pull back on this green axis here. And you can see we are bringing our character back and effectively getting him ready to be posed. Now, if we use this blue axis and just pull up a little bit, you can see already we have got a pretty decent looking pose. Now, you can see he still looks a bit like he's falling backwards. So again, this is where we're just going to further tweak and refine everything. So I'm just going to hide the bones and those kind of little dots so we can see that clearly. But all we're going to do is a few seconds to just reposture and reposition him. And now he looks, perfect. So if I bring up the other motion dummy that we hid earlier, And you can see, it looks exactly the same. Really is that simple. And if we play that back now, you can see, in a couple of minutes or seconds, maybe a minute, we've literally reposed our character. And, it's very important because, like I say, it's always going to be an issue that you're going to face. So if you're going to use these softwares to create motion, like Plask, if you're going to use it to bring in some of your own motion, they're not going to come in perfect. And, you may be scratching your head thinking, what's going on? But, nothing to worry about. We all experience the exact same things. And it is just a quick case of using these wonderful tools in iClone to actually clean that motion up and get it looking perfect. So again, very, very simple things. And I really hope it's kind of taught you guys a lot and given you guys a lot to go away with and start to play with and start to make some incredible, incredible motions. But that kind of really, that really concludes the webinar, and that kind of brings us to a close with these two wonderful tutorials that we've looked at. So now what I'd love to hear is, a couple of questions from you guys, and yeah, I'll answer a few questions and let Kaya take the floor again. I don't think I can hear you, Kaya. I think your mic's turned off.
Forgot to unmute myself. All right.
There we go.
All good. Thanks so much for that, Tristan. We're super informative. I think a lot of people learned some really key tips from MoCap cleanup. And again, like I mentioned, you guys check out those courses on the Realism courses page, the whole motion capture cleanup section there. You can expand on that. There's so much more stuff. Now, I guess we'll go to the Q&A now, real quick here. So we already have a number of questions in the Q&A. And if you guys have any questions, just throw them in there, and we can kind of do some demos for you or whatnot. We'll see how things go. All right, pretty long question from Adrian to start off here. If the performer and target avatar skeletons have different proportions, how can I clean up motions where contact is made between parts of the body? I think we kind of covered that a little bit, but we can expand on it. For instance, interlocking fingers, moving in a circle, or the wrist touching the side of the chin, et cetera, et cetera. So just to kind of cut that question a little bit shorter, Adrian, I think what Tristram demonstrated with the hand contact with the thighs was basically a good example of that. Now, I mean, normally you're not going to have an actor that has exact proportions to your character. That's like very rare that happens unless you're doing a recreation of yourself. In that case, then it's all good, but generally you're kind of like motion capturing like ogres or something like that, where there's going to be big fingers and big chins, and there's going to be all kinds of stuff. So generally the edit motion layer tool is going to be used for that kind of stuff. Quick edits that kind of what Tristram just showed with the hand contact with the thighs, whether it be it's going through the face mesh or something. Again, just really small tweaks with the edit motion layer tool. Have anything to add to that, Tristram? I think any techniques
just like you say, it's just those little small tweaks that you use in the edit motion layer. And if you're still seeing my screen, you can see down here you've got kind of different components where you can lock the feet, you can lock the arms, and ultimately that will give you kind of different results when you're moving different body parts. So for example, if you lock the arms and you want to kind of move the top torso, that's going to give you different results. That's just really kind of knowing how to kind of play around with the tools that you have there, and it will get you the results you want, no matter the kind of character size or the scale of the character. You can use these tools and it will effectively work.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I think you can also, utilize the animation layer tool, like you mentioned, you have there below. You can actually have different edits. You can kind of play around with, activate one condition or deactivate the other condition, and kind of play around with them and test them. So we can maybe talk about that a bit more later if these guys have any more questions.
Sure.
All right, so Adrian has a link here to some some motions that you've made. So Adrian, maybe you can put that in the chat window. We can follow that link. I'm not going to follow it here on this webinar for now. But it's another question. Is it possible to move head movements from the expression track onto the motion track, or vice versa? So the expression track is dedicated to only the head. You can't move expressions to the body. So that won't really work. They're two completely separate things. But yeah. And I think you agree with that, Tristram.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think ultimately, if you're asking, can you add head motion into the motion layer, you can add head motion into it by using the animation layer, creating a separate layer for the head, and then doing that. But if you've got motions that, for sometimes you'll use an expression, you'll put an expression on, and that will have some motions inbuilt into the head movement. You can't take those out and put in the motion layer, but you can build them in manually, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very good point. Sometimes there's head tilting motions or head rotating motions that are
Exactly.
part of the expression that may conflict sometimes with the body motion, like just the driving of the shoulders and the eye case. So be aware of that, but you can't take them from one to the other. Yeah.
No.
All right. A question from Edward. I would like to know of making aliens without noses and ears. I'm into film and TV. So Edward, that's more of a question for character creator. You can definitely do that with character creator, you can even do that just within character creator itself. But a lot of, artists go into like tools like ZBrush to modify the mesh and with more detail and stuff. But you can basically flatten the nose in character creator itself just using mesh editing. But yeah, Edward, I would recommend checking out our Realism courses page. There's a number of tutorials on that are detailed. If you go like to the Realism courses page, I'm not going to share my screen here, but I'll go to it really quick. Character creator. I'll just throw the link to the tutorials for character creator in the chat for you guys here. Let's go back to the chat here. There you go. So yeah, check out those, Edward, in terms of creating aliens without noses or ears. Very X-Files. Cool. All right, so you're starting your own studio. Awesome. Congratulations and good luck with that. And we'll go to the next question here from RCL, Graham. I'm already cleaning up MoCap and iClone 8 and it's going well. However, my animation seems to lack weight. Everything seems a little too smooth. What's the process to address this, as I would like my characters to feel more grounded with interacting with objects and their environment? So weight, maybe I'll hand that over to you first, Tristram, and then I can maybe add some stuff later. What do you think about the weight thing?
Yeah, a great way to kind of maybe add weight to, certain motions. And, for example, you might be picking up a prop and you want to kind of make it look like the prop's a bit heavy, etc. You can use the edit motion layer, and you can actually lock the hands to create all sorts of kind of motions. So if you lock the hands and you kind of move the character, it kind of keeps the hands locked. This is one way to create that. But again, you can use things like the curve editor to introduce at different points in the motion, some kind of different curve arcs that will kind of add, a more weighty feel to the overall piece of animation. But that, it really is about kind of exploring different techniques and understanding how to use that curve editor to achieve those results.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it right there. And as well, the things that you just mentioned, using the reach targets, you can also use reach targets to attach them to objects as well. Like I was just thinking of someone lifting up like a block of cement or something like that.
Yeah.
Have the reach, like have their arms kind of bent at first, and then the reach target active, and then they kind of, the motion for their body standing up, you would use the curve editor for that to make it a bit more smooth or jerky or whatever you'd like. And then the reach target for the prop would be that's the initial way I would do it. There's no real right way to do things.
No.
There's just faster ways and kind of more dirty ways to do it. But
Exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I would kind of recommend doing that combination of two techniques, like I just mentioned, for sure.
Yeah, but it will be really kind of getting to grips with how to use that curve editor and how to introduce that into your animation, because that really is where the magic is going to happen. All these little things that you want to do with kind of weights and stuff, you can really do that and manipulate that using that curve editor.
Yeah, and one other tip I wanted to add as well, I just kind of thought of a lot of the times when your animations seem to lack weight, it's because sometimes the motions are too uniform, like everything's moving at once. And if you're looking at like a scenario like I just mentioned, where you're lifting up a block, your shoulders will move back first, and then your arms will kind of contract. So one thing you can do is when you're doing the motion layer editing or using the edit motion layer tool, with keyframes. Don't keep them all the same frame. Like, don't put your arms on the same frame as the torso, for example. You know, have them at separate frames and have the progression of motions, you know, kind of to show that you don't want them all
Yeah.
to be simultaneous.
Yeah, so just like really offsetting those keyframes, offsetting them, and that will give you more weight and different results. And you can just play around with it until you see something that you like. But I'm sure you'll see different variations happening when you do play around with offsetting and the curve. A lot of different ways to achieve that.
Yeah, and the key there is playing around with it, because you know,
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
it's a trial and error type thing for sure.
Yeah, I don't think there's an animator out there that just goes in and does it off the back. He's
Yeah,
sitting
I
there
know
for
exactly how
hours
to do
playing.
this.
Yeah, no, you'll sit there and you'll play and you
Yeah.
know, you might do it wrong and have to start again. But ultimately, it's about, you know, having that patience to keep going and just keep trying new things.
Absolutely. Just another quick question from Edward Ramirez saying, is there drills for this that will help you to learn this? Again, Edward, I'll throw that link in the chat window once again, just for
Yeah.
the motion capture editing tutorials. Once my screen loads up here. I'll just throw this in the chat window for those of you who missed it. MoCap animation training. Most of these videos are done by Tristram using various scenarios, you know, coming from like hand gestures, interacting with your own body as well. There's all kinds of really fun stuff there. A lot of foot sliding stuff. So I'll throw this in the chat for you guys. So Edward, this will be a great resource for you. All right, let's go to the next one here from Nikhil. How are you selecting the point that is to be constrained to the floor? The foot, for example. Do you select a particular bone from the skeleton?
Okay. Good question. So no, you're not doing it like that. What's happening is it's constraining the feet at different points, and then we're just using the sliders to see when the foot naturally releases from the floor, if it needs a little bit more time or a little less time or a little bit more blend. So you're just basically using those sliders that we create to tell the foot when to release. And if you tell it to release too late, then you're going to see some popping issues. So you'll know that you've got it a little bit wrong. Maybe I need to go a little bit to the left. So again, it's just those sliders, using those sliders to tell you and communicate with you when they need to be moved to the left or to the right. Does that make sense?
I think that's clear to me. And I just wanted to maybe add on to that. There's in certain like very, very select scenarios, you may have a issue where you there's constraints for the toe and the heel separately, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that can be like if you're for example like a ballerina. I've done this before, you know, twirling on the toe. You know, you have to only have the toe constraints and do away with the heel constraint at that point.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit trickier, but yeah, the constraints are the answer there for sure. We'll go to the next question from Nikhil here. He says the knee seems to bend a little strangely, and might need to be rotated to work better on the constraint. Can you do that here too? How exactly? Yeah, so maybe he's talking about the seated motion, I think, Nikhil, because that was asked about 20 minutes ago. So if the knee, yeah, maybe you can answer how you would fix that if the knee was.
So literally just a case of using the reach target or the edit motion layer to just pop the character down a little bit, maybe using the blue axis here to kind of, you know, nudge him down a little bit, and that will kind of get rid of that popping. Yeah, so really simple. I'd need to kind of know at exact point it was, because I'm not sure at the point or what video it was in, but yeah, it's just a case of using that edit motion layer or the reach targets just to kind of move wherever the popping's happening, you just adjust the character's body a little bit. So I'll give you an example here. So, you know, if we're here popping, let me just undo that. Then you just drag down on the blue a little bit, and now you can see that kind of makes the knees look more softer and more bouncy and less pop. So it's just adjusting the little increments, and they could be very small, very tiny increments. You just need to adjust 1 or 2 millimeters.
Right. You can also rotate bones too as well. Like if you click on the knees and you know, you can rotate them left or right or whatever, depending on, you know, what sort of scenario you're in. That sometimes that can have an effect too. So if you see that occurring, just make a little motion layer edit there, and generally can fix, I think, what you're talking about. Let's go to the next one from another one from Nikhil. When you make these detailed changes, how do they transfer over to a metahuman in Unreal? what are some gotchas or changes to this workflow that would be required? I can answer that real quick first. We have a number of tutorials that I did on basically retargeting iClone motions to Unreal Engine. And let me just find those, and I will throw those in the chat as well. We have a specific area for that under pipelines. So there's Unreal and there's Unreal Live Link plugin. I think these ones are more in the general Unreal area here. So yeah, so here's one for, I'm not sure if these ones are uploaded yet, but there's one for, oh, here, MetaHumans. Okay, yeah, here's the ones you want to check out. So there's a section we have in our realism courses page specifically for MetaHumans. So there's ones that deal with iClone Live Link. There's ones that deal with retargeting. So I would check out these tutorials here. I'm going to throw these in the chat window for you guys. For anyone who's interested in getting your motions over to metahuman characters in Unreal. It's a little bit of a workaround process at this point, but it works flawlessly. I've done it many times. So yeah, that hopefully that'll work for you there, Nikhil. This is updated to Unreal Engine 5.2, so everything is all up to date. And there are other tutorials if you're still using Unreal 4 or something like that. There are other tutorials that deal, because the retargeting workflow is slightly different. So just be aware of that. Between Unreal Engine 4 and 5, they changed the retargeting workflow a little bit. So be aware of that. If you're using Unreal 4, then you're going to want to check out the archive tutorials. They're still in there, but yeah, they're a little bit older. Don asks, could you do a quick demo of the MoCap from Plask and import it into iClone 8? I mean, I think that's kind of what we just did. Maybe Tristan, you can explain a little bit about Plask and you know, how you found it useful.
For sure. I mean, if some of you don't know, I've got a really good YouTube channel that has a really good video on about that. It's my channel's iClone 3D. Some of you may be familiar with it, but I've actually done maybe a 10-minute tutorial on how to kind of take video, put it into Plask, convert that for motion to then be brought into iClone. There's a kind of like a full tutorial on it, and really, really useful in terms of breaking down that whole process. So I'm not sure how to link it in the chat, but it's up there on my YouTube channel. But yeah, I mean, very simple process. I guess all you're going to do is Plask. Firstly, you get, I think, 30 seconds free every day, I believe. So you can only do 30 seconds, but you just simply upload your video into Plask, and that will do all the kind of calibrations, create the motion. Then you can export it as an FBX file. And then I believe you just drag and drop straight onto your iClone character once you've exported it out of Plask. I don't think you need to use any conversion tools to convert it. You just drag and drop and it should work straight out of the box.
Is this the one from like 11 months ago or so?
Yeah, it was a while back. It's called, if you just type in Plask, I think it should be on there.
Yeah, tips and tricks, any video to RL motion using
Plask. Yeah, I think, okay. Yeah, that's the one. Quite a popular tutorial that people found really useful, actually. Cool. Right. But yeah, I mean, that will give you the whole kind of rundown on how to do it and get that done perfectly.
I'm going to put this in the chat for you guys here. Cool. Yeah, I mean, Plask, you take basically, you know, takes the videos and changes them into MoCap. The only issue with, you know, this kind of thing is that there's, you know, for obviously spin around motions, you're going to get occlusion with certain body parts. Now, I've heard various, you know, reactions to that where, you know, the AI part of Plask is able to kind of, you know, predict, you know, where the arm is going to be or where it's not going to be and stuff. So there's, you know, varying results. Obviously, it's a very super useful and super cool way to get raw motion capture. I haven't used it myself very much, you know, just when we were kind of testing it out in the early stages, but yeah, I've heard really good things, and our community uses Plask a lot as well. So I think that's why we brought Tristram in here to kind of show us a little bit about how you can use that in the workflow, because we find it very useful as well.
Extremely.
So, yeah. All right, that was Don's question. So yeah, and Plask, for those of you who don't have it, I'll throw the link in the chat window in just a little bit here. Edward is asking about changing hair color. I think, Edward, this would probably be more of a character creator tutorial or webinar question. So I think we will have some character creator webinar stuff in August, I do believe, end of August. We're going to have a Headshot 2.0 webinar in the end of August. That'll be hosted by myself. So check that out. That's going to be our first Headshot 2.0 webinar. Some really cool stuff that's new with Headshot 2.0. If you're interested in the character creation aspect of our software. Let's go to the next question from Andre here. Got a lot of questions. Do you have some tips for us on how to record good video for motion capture in Plask? You want to take that?
Yeah. Tip number one, make sure that your whole body is in full frame. Plask can't cope with half a body, or it doesn't know. It has to basically see the whole body to know how to target it and add the bone structures to it. So I'd shoot very clean full body image and no movement. Nice tripod shot or steady handheld shot where you're not moving, you're just holding the camera straight on. And yeah, so stuff like that, getting really clean images, a whole body and no movement, that will give you the best results. And just ensuring that whatever movement the character's doing in the video, that all their body parts can be seen by the camera. If that makes sense? So yeah,
I've heard things about lighting as well. Like the lighting needs to be, you know, fairly good. You don't want to have a very dark area, for example.
No, yeah, exactly. So good lighting as well would be absolutely key in getting the best results possible from Plask or Rococo or all these other kind of MoCap softwares.
I'm curious about, you know, the type of clothing you wear. Like if you're wearing all black, like a black, you know, suit like Catwoman or something like that, would that cause issues with the, you know, the arms and the body? Have you ever experienced anything like that yourself? Or
I haven't personally experienced anything like that. I haven't been fortunate enough to have Catwoman jump in the shot for me, but I haven't experienced anything to do with kind of clothes issues or anything like that. The main issues I've experienced is if the body parts go out of shot. If you do a shot, maybe you've got your hands behind your head, you're not going to get that clear because it can't pick up on what your hand's doing. So it's really good for kind of, you know, dance sequences or, you know, conversations where you're going to do some nice talking, nice hand movements. It's really good for all that stuff, I find. Yeah,
like you mean like a corporate training video or something where you have like some background NPC characters like blah 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 blah, you know, and then
just excellent for that. Excellent for that.
Right on. All right. Hopefully it helps you there, Andre. I think you got a couple of tips there. So Edward, again about the skin on the model, I think we'll leave that for a character creation webinar. But thanks for the questions. We have all those tutorials that I sent on the Realism courses page related to the character creator. Question from Seth here, related to popcorn effects in iClone. I haven't found any tutorials on this, but is there a way to add more than 2 lines of text in the LED text effect with the ribbons? Oh man, this is so long ago for me. This is probably like 4 years ago, at least 4 years ago, I think, that I was doing the popcorn effects tutorials. Unfortunately, Seth, I can't really pick it out in my mind and remember which effect that is. What was that?
I think I know. Yeah, I think I know what he's talking about. I think it's like an effect that kind of puts writing on the screen, so you could effectively, you know, write an intro for your scene or something. But if it doesn't allow you to do more than 2 lines, you could always duplicate the popcorn effect and then just drag it underneath and kind of create a paragraph like that, just duplicating it.
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering why there would only be a limit to the 2 lines of text, which doesn't make sense. But I like that. That's thinking outside the box there. Just add a second
tips
one
and tricks.
Yeah, exactly.
iClone tips.
Yeah, I think man, I would have to go back and double check that, kind of experiment with it, Seth. Unfortunately, I wasn't expecting a question on popcorn effects here. But thanks for the question. Anyways, I'm sorry I can't really answer it. Maybe at a later date, you can email me or something, but I can experiment with it on my own time. Let's go to the next one here from Tuck. What about the cushion of a sofa pressed with the weight of a character sitting down? That's an interesting scenario. I think if you wanted to do that, there's a couple of things you could do. Well, obviously, you'd have to morph the sofa mesh in timing with the character sitting down, which might be one of the more challenging parts of this, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
the character sinking into the sofa would probably just be, I would use like a ease in, ease out sort of curve editor transition myself. That would probably kind of just have him slow down as he hits the cushion. But I think, the most difficult part for that would honestly be you'd have to conform the mesh to the character's butt to be,
Yeah.
that would be the more challenging part, because that would take a lot more time, because it's just a more complex mesh.
Yeah.
Unless it was your character's butt that was conforming to the super hard wood bench or
Well,
something like
yeah.
that. That would be
Yeah.
then it would be vice versa. Yeah, but to do the actual motion of sitting down, I would use maybe just a quick little edit using the motion layer editor of bringing the hip down slightly with a transition curve, I think. Well, what do you think, Tristan?
Yeah, I mean, is he trying to achieve a morph on a cushion when the person sits on a cushion?
I think you would probably be talking about the actual, just the motion.
Oh, just the motion
Yeah,
of that.
so that wouldn't be
Okay.
too hard, to be honest, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. I get like you said, pretty much just using the hips to kind of bring it down at a different point in the timeline, a few frames ahead. And yeah, you can just then fine tune, and you can use the animation layer to maybe create a few more layers and add some shoulder movement, and add some different movements to complement that motion where he sits, just to complement it and add on to it. But yeah,
Yeah,
pretty doable.
yeah. Sitting motions, I mean, we just demonstrated one of them. They seem simple, but you can also add a little bit of a lot of subtleties to them
You
to
can.
make them a lot more have personality or weight, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jasper here is asking, how can we time the blending of the feet correction? Also with the curve editor, the feet correction, I think he was mentioning. You
Yeah.
want to answer that
So
one?
yeah, to adjust the timing of it, you wouldn't use the curve editor. You just use the little sliders that we looked at earlier. So you use them sliders that adjusts the timing of it all. So because effectively all we're doing is we're engaging them to constrain to the floor at different points, and then we're telling them when to release. And you do that through the sliders. So that's the way to do that.
Cool. I think that hopefully that answers that for you, Jasper. I just saw that Adrian posted some stuff in here, but you actually just Adrian, you just sent it just to only us, the hosts and panelists. This is tips for getting the best motion capture. He mentions deep motion here, but I'm sure Plask would be very similar technologies.
Yeah, all
So
similar technologies.
yeah, so maybe just Adrian, you can just send that to everyone in the chat, not just hosts and panelists. I think there we go. Okay, done and done. Okay, next one we got from Harris. Sometimes I have issues with reach target. The hand is locked, but it's still slowly moving while there is not any visible keyframes on the animation layer. What are the most common issues with reach target that could cause this? So I think the hand is locked, but it's still slowly moving. My initial impression would be that there's some kind of conflict with the human IK. So maybe the body is pulling the hand in a certain direction. That would be my only initial thought on that. Do you have any idea,
Yeah,
Tristan?
I mean, what I would say is the only way the hand in my mind could be pulling is if there's some motion going on that's moving in a direction where the constraint is being kind of over constrained or overstretched, so it's not constraining effectively. And again, what we can do is, if we remember in the prior tutorial that we just looked at, you can keyframe those reach targets at different points. So you can just add a simple keyframe, and then you can adjust it at the different points. Now, of course, that's with no kind of vision on what exactly the main issue is with this pulling issue, but I'm just kind of giving an example of that. Maybe it's an issue where you just need to add a few keyframes and just move it, adjust it at different intervals to make it follow that motion that it's trying to be constrained to. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a conflict with some other systems, like either IK or maybe another constraint somewhere is causing that. But
Yeah,
yeah, generally it's not going to happen that the hand would move if it's constrained. So
yeah. I mean,
it would
it's
take a
like
bit of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's like if you try to constrain the feet to the floor, but you put a jump motion on, the character is still gonna jump and the feet are gonna come off the floor. It's not gonna hold them onto the floor. The
Yeah.
constraint can only get engage up to a certain point of pressure, let's say, before it, breaks the constraint.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Hope that give you some tips. I mean, those kind of things that you need to kind of get in there and dig in a little bit and see,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
actual
really.
situation. Let's go to the next one. Next question from Sven here. Is it possible to copy the whole world position, rotation, POS from a pin and paste it on a different timeline position? The only way I know is to copy paste the every value separately. So let me just kind of deconstruct this. Copy the whole world position, rotation and position from a pin and paste it on a different timeline position. It's kind of.
I'm thinking is the main agenda to get the character aligned to a different point on the floor or in the 3D space? Is it like
Yeah,
a
I would think so. I mean, it seems like this obvious solution would be just to move your character's transform position. Um,
yeah,
the rotation won't change. Now you can be aware that you can when you save motions, it will bake your transform and rotation positions into in rotation and position values rather. It'll bake those into that clip. So if you have your
yeah,
character, for example, moving forward, like literally taking steps forward and changing their root position, that's going to copy. That's going to, if you save that into a clip, it's going to remain in that clip. It's not going to be just like walking in one place. So just be aware of that. Wherever your root goes, your character root
yeah.
goes. I think that. I mean, the solution seems too easy. So maybe Sven, if you can maybe elaborate a bit if I'm, not
Yeah,
answering your
yeah.
question. Um, okay, I'll go to the next one anyways from Peter. Peter not available. Is there a way to sync up the curve editor to the joint your timeline is selected? I think is there a way to sync up the curve editor to the joint that is selected in your timeline? Often I'm forced to search through menus of choices for the one I'm looking for. Good question. I mean, I don't know that there is. I think he's maybe just talking about a specific bone or joint in the timeline and finding the
Mm.
equivalent bone in the curve editor. I can't remember in the curve editor if there's a. No, I don't think there is at this point.
You can
Um,
you can sample different body parts, can't you? You can sample the body part, and then that allows you to use the curve editor. I'm not sure if that's what he means.
yeah, I think it seems like maybe just finding the specific bone in the timeline and in the curve editor. It takes a little bit of time for him to search through the bones and find
Oh,
the
I
what
get
he's looking
exactly
for.
what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get exactly what he's saying. Yeah, I mean that would be. I don't think you can do it, but that would be like quite useful if you could click
Yeah,
on
and
the
they would
body
just kind of
part and then it
select in both. Yeah,
syncs with the curve editor. Yeah, that
yeah,
I don't think that is available. No, but something to look into. That would be cool. Pretty cool
yeah.
feature.
That's actually a really nice little thing that would be awesome to have.
That would
To be
be. Yeah,
honest. So Peter, maybe you can also just email us in the feedback form and kind of request that as a future feature. I think that
that would be
we're
good.
always looking for user feedback to put in stuff, new features. So great. Okay, we'll go to the next one from Anonymous. Just found out that about Plask today. What's the workflow from Plask to iClone with importing custom motions, and can any motions be imported and translated? Kai's still waiting on a fighting scene tutorial. Yeah, it's been highly requested for a long time. I think by this point, I'm gonna just have to like suit up in a MoCap suit myself and just duke it out
Yeah.
with someone over here. We'll get that soon. There's just all kinds of stuff that's popping up like Headshot 2 and all the latest updates, iClone 8.2 and stuff. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess you just to go back to the question here, the workflow from Plask to iClone with importing custom motions. You basically export, I think FBX from Plask. Is that correct? If I
That's
remember.
correct. Yeah.
And they also
Yeah,
do
that's correct.
do they do BVH as well? I can't remember.
I can't remember off the top, but I think there is a couple of options for different formats.
Yeah, I remember there's a few, but
Yeah.
FBX is just probably just bringing it straight into iClone, no problem. And yeah, you shouldn't have an issue there. That's
Yeah.
really the workflow, to be honest. There's
Again,
not
there's the
much to it.
tutorial. There's the tutorial that you could check out that I think Kai shared now from my channel, but really useful.
Oh
Really
yeah,
kind
okay,
of give
yeah,
you the full breakdown on that, how to do it.
cool. All right, so maybe check out that tutorial from Tristram's channel there. Danny V, is there a quick way to smooth out jittering found in MoCap? Yeah, jittering is a common issue used in some motion captures for sure. What's your favorite way to fix jittering?
Yeah, there is actually a really quick and easy way with iClone 8. And in fact, we've covered it on the MoCap series on the bunch of videos that we've done on Reillusion website. So if you check there, I think there's an exact one that's called jitter removal. So if you check that tutorial, it will show you how to do it. But you can just use the curve editor to smooth out everything. It's a couple of clicks. You just tell it to smooth all, and then it will smooth all of the curves, and that will remove the jitter. But I suggest, yeah, watching that tutorial that I've done on the Reillusion website and checking that out. It's really, really incredible.
Yeah, and one of the ways I've always used as well is basically if you actually have a clip and there's like a little bit of jittering in a certain couple frames of the clip, just basically cut out those frames of the clip and blend the rest together. That generally fixes it for me.
Another easy tip to how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, jittering is not too difficult to get fixed. So Adrian's asking Plask versus Deep Motion versus Move.ai. What does everyone like? I like Plask because I've used it. Deep Motion is one that we've kind of messed around with as well. I haven't used Move AI myself, but what do you think?
I tried out Deep Motion the other day actually, and I got some varying results, as you do from all of these kind of softwares. I don't know if I'd have a best one. I think for me personally, Plask is great. Rococo is really, really good. Deep Motion just started out on it, so not too sure, just trying a few things out at the minute. But again, they're all going to give you pretty similar results. They're all going to give you kind of pretty similar stuff.
Yeah,
so
Rococo is
yeah,
quick and easy to use too. Rococo requires the suit though. That's the only thing.
Yeah, but they've got I think they've got the AI video.
Oh, that's right.
MoCap.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I think
right.
they've
They
got
have that
that as
too.
well. So they can do that. But again, it's really kind of, what one you find easiest, what interface you like best. It really is that, because they all do the same stuff.
Yep. And Tiago mentions here Rococo Studio is free, no suit needed. Thank you for adding that. I wanted to mention that as well. I have my own Rococo suit that I mess around with sometimes if I'm, because I sometimes do a lot of, like I mentioned, corporate training videos before I'll animate some of those on my free time, and I'll just throw on the Rococo suit and do that, whatever. But
and just
okay. Question. First do all the animation here. So Edward asks a good question here. I will FBX everything to Unreal for film. Can I first do all the animation here and then move it over to Unreal? Yes, Edward. In fact, that's the suggested workflow. That's the workflow I would recommend, is doing your motion editing in iClone. It's just fast and easy. And then you can export it to Unreal using auto setup, which is basically a one-click transfer. Really easy, does all the retargeting and material stuff for you. Or you can just get Unreal Live Link, which allows for real-time preview between the two programs. I think Unreal Live Link has been around for a while. So yeah, highly recommend that. Fiona, thanks for this, really informative. In the future, will iClone support Sony MoCopy? Sony MoCap, I think, there's been talk about that. I'm not really on the cutting edge of the what gets approved and what's not, but there has been talk about it, but I can't really see anything at this point. But we do want to be as universal as possible with all motion capture technologies out there. Yeah, sorry for the non-answer there, but that's the best I can give you there. Anonymous asks, is there an AI that works better with iClone, or all the AI works the same? I think we just kind of discussed that. They're all fairly similar. I can't really give a comprehensive answer on which one I like the most, because I have very cursive, experience with all of them. So yeah, I think we'll just kind of move on to the next one for now. And Tuck. Oh, so I think Tuck was asking the question about the sitting down, and she's talking about the physics response. So maybe sitting down on a sofa and bouncing up again. I don't know. There's no physics. I mean, yeah, the physics for that would be really. I hate using physics.
Yeah.
It's 10 times worse than actually animating it manually in a lot of cases, because it's just you talk about trial and error. Physics is trial and error like times 10 in my experience.
Yeah,
But
yeah, definitely.
yeah, I mean, you could technically have collision shapes on your character's butt or something like that, and have it interact with the soft mesh of the sofa or something. But that's again a rigid body and soft body collision, and you get yeah. Like I said, it takes a lot of trial and error. It depends on what you want to go with. If it's a water bed, then sure. I don't know who has water beds anymore, but
No.
you never know. Another question from Edward. Okay, guys, we'll go for another, I think maybe 10-15 minutes, and then we got a lot of questions here. Holy smokes. Yeah, we'll go for another 10-15 minutes, and if you have any further questions after that, you can always email myself or Tristan. He's on the check out his YouTube channel, check out our courses. But yeah, we love that.
iClone 3D, sorry, is the channel that you can check out. And yeah, any questions as well, you can just fire me a comment and I'll be more than happy to answer that.
Cool. All right. Edward says, can you do the animation in Maya and move it over with FBX and clean it up there in Maya? Yeah, absolutely. Maya obviously is a universal tool. It's very legacy tool. It does require the monthly subscription. But yeah, Motion Builder, very similar, but it all depends on your budget and your style of, personally, I don't like the monthly subscriptions if I don't have to, but yeah, that's up to your own individual sort of preference, I guess. But you can definitely do it in like Motion Builder Maya as well, for sure. James asks, I have a project that requires detailed hand and finger motion, instructional guitar playing. Would Plask and the techniques presented here allow that kind of control? I would say the hand stuff is a little bit difficult for Plask in terms of, very specific instructional guitar playing. But I would mention that Rococo's new glove is really accurate for that stuff. I found it surprisingly accurate. So James, maybe the Rococo glove is one you want to check out. It's supported in iClone as well. So but yeah, I would that'd be my answer. What do you think? Have you done any finger stuff really in Plask?
Yeah, so kind of reverting back to a question someone asked earlier about kind of what differences these different softwares have, Plask, Deep Motion, etc. A good thing with Deep Motion is they've actually got a feature where it incorporates and calculates for hand movement. So if you turn it on, it will kind of try to get the right hand movements from the video that you've uploaded into it. So that's something that you can try as well. But I kind of second what you say, Kai, with the Rococo glove. I think that's amazing. You really ain't going to beat that. And that's going to give you some perfect results.
Yeah, I was impressed, especially for the price.
Yeah, for the price, it's really impressive.
Okay, question from Adrian. I don't really understand FK. When do you use FK mode instead of IK mode? So FK and IK stand for like forward and inverse kinematics, respectively. IK is generally used, when you want to, let's say, for example, you take your hand bone and you move it forward or move it backwards. Basically, the rest of the body will, like, inverse. The rest of the body will react to wherever you move your wrist or your hand. So that's inverse kinematics. Forward kinematics is generally, for the torso or the hip. So whenever you move your hip, for example, nothing else will move. It'll just kind of, they'll all move according to the hip movement. So that's called forward kinematics. Hopefully that's clear as mud. Generally, inverse is when you're using the extremities to control, like my elbow and my upper arm will move whenever I move my wrist. Say there's like I'm controlling my wrist, then obviously the elbow and the upper arm have to move as well. That's inverse kinematics. What do you think? Clear as mud? Tristan, anything to add there?
No, I mean, pretty clear. Play around with it as well, because you'll see that IK and FK having one or the other turned on, you can move body parts differently. So you might be able to move a leg differently than you'd be able to move it if it was in FK mode or IK mode. So it's just about playing around with it. And but I mean that is good tutorial to look at, actually, because there is reasons to switch back and forth between the two, and there is places to know where and why you need to do it.
Yeah,
So
good point. Yeah.
Good question.
Okay, we'll go to the next question from Nikhil here. Conceptually, is the motion edit layer the same as an additive animation layer in Unreal? And can you speak to the difference between a constraint and a reach target, and when you use one versus the other? Okay, so a reach target is a type of constraint. So just to answer that right off the bat, yeah, so that's one is, they're not exclusive. A reach target is a type of constraint. The additive animation layer in Unreal, I don't do animation in Unreal just because I have full access to all of iClone's tools. I've just never messed around with it. So I just do everything in iClone myself, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, there's certain things like, I know that when you're using like, weapons or something like that in Unreal, then sometimes additive animation layers are necessary. But in terms of just your typical animations that I do, I don't mess around with it. So I couldn't really give a very comprehensive answer on using the additive animation layer in Unreal. I've used it certain times, I think, for like holding swords and guns and stuff. But aside from that, swords and guns that I've added and that need to be functional in Unreal. But aside from that, not really much else. Do you mess around with Unreal, Tristan, or?
I only mess around with it lightly at the minute, mainly to try renders and stuff. So I haven't really focused on kind of animation or the different aspects of that. But I will be looking into it soon and maybe putting some stuff on my channel. So yeah, cool. But not as of yet.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are using it for these days. They've really gone into cinematics a lot in the last few years, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so then in edit motion layer, the values from the white triangle. White triangle. I think this was a question that was kind of, we answered before. I think white triangle, what is that?
I'm in here now. So
yeah, I'm not sure. I think sometimes the reach targets before had a white triangle to kind of indicate which direction I think that's the only thing I can really think of.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Maybe he can elaborate on the question. And
yeah, sorry about that, Sven. I'm not sure about we're trying to
figure it
think
out,
of the elusive white triangle.
Yeah.
Okay, Jay asked a good question here. Is there a special price in Plask for iClone users? I don't think we have a partnership with them at this point. That's a good initiative for our partnership marketing director. Send that over to him. I think we can probably work something out there, but not right now, as far as I know, Jay. So Adrian asked a question about the camera angles in Plask. Which is the best one? Is it head height, straight on, slightly off center? What's the works best for you?
Is that in terms of filming footage to then put into Plask?
Yeah, I think that's what he's mentioning here. So is there anything that camera angle that works best?
Yeah, I'd keep it exactly how this camera is here, full body, so you can see the whole body. It has to be able to see your whole body to calibrate correctly what you want to get from it. So yeah, you can't do kind of a shot, say like this, and put a video like this in, because it's just not going to get you great results. So really, you just want to have a full body shot and record whatever you want full body, and then plop it into Plask, and you're going to get some really good results.
All right. Okay, I'll just go through a couple more here. I think we have eight questions left. Good question from Seth. Is it possible to use an iPhone to control camera movements in iClone, much like Unreal, Blender, and other 3D software? We don't have that capability yet in iClone. I mean, you can use the iPhone. You can generate AR environments in Unreal and transfer them to your iPhone and stuff, or in iClone rather, and transfer them to your iClone. But there's no there's no way you can use the iPhone to control your camera movements in iClone, or your iPhone. There's too many eyes here. Your iPhone to control camera movements in iClone. We don't have that yet. That's kind of a cool option, though. I think it's like a kind of a VR type thing. I didn't even know Blender could do that. That's awesome if Blender can do that.
Yeah, I never knew.
I'll have to look that up. But yeah, unfortunately, Seth, not at this time. We'll go to the next question anyways here from Armand. One of the most difficult things is getting the walking to flow naturally. When foot locking, it starts to look very unnatural. Can you do a tutorial covering this? I think we probably can. Do we have a tutorial specifically for walking?
I think there's quite a few. Yeah, I think there's quite a few.
I'm trying to think if there's a cleanup one for walking. I know I've done ones where you're walking upstairs and stuff like that, and more complex stuff. I don't know if there's anyone that's just your basic walk and adjusting it, because that'd be a really easy tutorial to do. But there's a lot of things that you could cover too, like just like sitting. Yeah. There's different ways of walking, right? Like a swag walk or just like a tiptoe walk and stuff like that. So yeah, Armand, we have a lot. I don't want to just go through on a live webinar all the try to search for the ones that we have, but we do have some on the realism courses page, and those will be in the iClone motion section specifically. Anonymous asked a good question here. Will this Zoom call be available for us to review and download after this call? Yes, we are recording this for posterity, so we will be publishing this on our YouTube channel afterwards. So if you missed anything, don't worry, this will be on our YouTube channel. We'll also be sending you guys the links after this as well, so you can just link directly to the video. All right, so Edwards has a couple suggestions about parenting things to the hands. That's an easy link thing. There's tutorials on linking and stuff and attaching that we can probably go into at a different point. I'm just going to get through these here. We got about 5 more minutes. One of the suggestions from a Disney animation book is to incorporate anticipation. This is from Al, sorry. Is to incorporate anticipation before a movement starts to give the actor more lifelike actions. Yeah, so anticipation is one of the standard animation techniques. Before you throw something, you anticipate. You bring your arm back. Before you what's another anticipation? Even taking a step forward, you're kind of leaning back a little bit before you take the step forward. It's just one of the main animation techniques that's used in your typical 2D Disney animation for sure. We have a tutorial, or we have a webinar that we did actually on that, and that's done by Mark Diaz, who is one of our users, a really cool guy, really great with manual animation, but he does it with Cartoon Animator, which is our 2D software. So you can check in the 2D software or the Cartoon Animator webinars. I'll maybe put a link to that for you, and he talks exactly about that. So anticipation obviously is more of a 2D exaggerated type technique. So he's kind of talking about the difference between like a motion capture and an anticipation, like in a 2D animation. But like if you watch like, I don't know, The Little Mermaid or something like that, not the live action version, the 2D version, obviously. 2D. Yeah, if you watch something like that, or Snow White, nobody really walks like that. It's just kind of a more exaggerated way of kind of creating more energy into motions, and anticipation is one of those techniques. So it's a sort of a different kind of animal in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like a different style. It depends on the style of animation you're going for as well. So
yeah, exactly. It's there's different styles of animation, like Ren and Stimpy is different from South Park, is different from I don't know, Clone High or whatever. It's
yeah.
So yeah, it's all depends. So Anonymous, thoughts on Cascadeur integration? Have you ever used that yourself?
Cascader? I haven't used it. No.
Is it called Cascader or Cascade? I always said Cascadeur.
Cascader.
Cascader? Sure. Maybe someone can enlighten us, because I haven't used it myself. I'm aware of it, and I was very actually kind of interested to see that the stuff that they were doing. I can maybe throw a link to the chat window for you guys here. I'm going to try and find the Cascadeur. There you go. I don't have any thoughts on it, but you guys can check it out yourselves. I think it's kind of an interesting technology. Throw in the chat window for you. In terms of the, just to go back on the question from Al, though, I'm going to try and show you a webinar from the, let's go to the archive here. There's one from Mark Diaz. Let me just try and find it here. This is called the 12 fundamentals. Oh wow, the last time we did this was last year. But this webinar here, I'll throw this link in the chat for you guys as well, because it'll be pretty useful for those of you who want to learn about the 2D animation techniques, which you can use in 3D environments as well. But yeah, okay. Florian, yes, the recording will be available on our YouTube channel, and we'll send it out, the link to all attendees as well. Edward asks, is there a book on iClone 8? There isn't a book on iClone 8. Maybe I should write one. I don't know.
Yeah, good idea.
Oh, man. A question okay, we got a couple more questions and we'll end it off. Nikhil says, I have Rococo suits and gloves and want to flow animation from that through iClone for cleanup, etc. And going into Unreal, retargeted to a metahuman. Do I need the Rococo plugin, and do I need anything from Rococo additionally? I have the Unreal Live Link plugin as part of my suit purchase. Okay, so great. In terms of iClone, you're all covered. So you got the, okay, you do need the Rococo profile, which I think is like a couple $100 to live stream your Rococo motion into iClone. Alternately, you can just record the FBX with Rococo and transfer that FBX into iClone. That's kind of a go way round if you don't want to get the Rococo profile. But again, that Rococo profile covers the body and the gloves as well. So I know you mentioned specifically about the gloves. So in terms of Rococo, as far as I know, the free version of Rococo, you're not able to do that. So you need to get the paid version of Rococo Studio to stream live to iClone. So again, if you want to do the live streaming to iClone, you got a couple extra costs on both sides. But again, the workaround way is just to do the FBX and import the FBX in and just do the retargeting from there. It'll automatically detect it's a Rococo profile, and it'll just kind of basically retarget within a couple seconds, to be honest. So it's kind of the workaround way to do it if you want to save some money.
Yeah.
And iClone to Mac OS from Anonymous? No, probably not anytime soon. Unfortunately, technology is moving too fast, and our engineers are working hard in their little cubicles trying to keep up with all the stuff that Unreal and Unity and all of them are bringing out, and just trying to make our software as compatible with them. So I think a lot of people prefer that rather than a Mac version. Okay, last question from Seth. Do you have any 3D animation at work contests planned for the near future, or is that solely for CTA? Nothing planned for this year, Seth, unfortunately, but we do definitely need to get a new contest for iClone, because we've had contests almost every year in the past where we encourage people to create their own animations and compete for prizes like PlayStation 4s and PlayStation 5s and all kinds of cool stuff. Wow. Cash prizes. Yeah, there's some really good cash prizes. I'm surprised. But nothing for iClone as far as I know this year anyways. I don't think it's on the calendar, but for those of you who are interested in joining the contest, Cartoon Animator 5 has a contest right now. You can compete in various different categories and get some good prizes there. Just check. You can find that on our website, and I'll just go to the main website. It'll be probably one of the top 3 links at the top there. All right, I think we're done. Pretty much right on time there, 11 or 10:30 a.m. for me. I think maybe it's what, 8 p.m. over there for you, 8:30?
6:30 p.m. for me.
Oh, it's not too late. It's not too late.
Dinner time for me.
Yeah, lunchtime for me.
Yeah.
Right on. So that's so awesome. Thanks, Tristram, so much for being with us today. Really
it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, all the help you've given us, and with all those tutorials as well. Super useful. We've had amazing feedback. So good stuff on that. And yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone here for attending today. Hopefully you guys learned a lot, and make sure you fill out the form. Give us more feedback in the future about different webinars and what you liked and everything. And yeah, I think we'll just bid you all adieu. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And thanks again, Tristram. I'll see you guys later.
See you later, guys. Thank you for joining.